associate design with the aesthetics. But in reality, it's more far-reaching than that, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot more to design. It touches all 5 senses, really. It's, especially now, it's very much an experience of the product. So, tell me a little bit about, you know, the luxury experience of the Genesis brand.
2 words that I didn't use yet is about athletic elegance, but I think we will talk a bit later about that. But it's when I was mentioning before about the experiences you get when you live in Korea, it's trying to get this into the cars. And as we are facing a change of environment, changing the cars we will drive, and as it has been communicated, we will have by 2030 a lineup of 8 EV vehicles, reaching carbon neutrality in 2035. But the most important thing is this is giving us the right stage to implement new elements which will enhance the experience we have with the cars. And that is, for instance, I was not aware that central heating system coming from the floor had been actually since centuries used in Korea. Simply because in Korea you don't have the shoes in the house. You are close to the floor when you eat, when you sleep, when you are on the tatami. So basically, it was logical to have the heating coming from the floor. So what happened is the floor of the house is raised, and you have the fire below that basically creates a mass of hot air that warms up the floor. This exact system, it's called the Korean ondol, and this is what we're going to actually utilize on our, because we don't have to create a fire, we have the batteries. Instead of trying to cool down and to try to utilize energy to cool down, we basically dissipate the energy by using it to heat up the interior. So that's one of the elements. We're also talking about a new experience as the cars are getting more and more silent, which is a sound architecture, completely different. So sound architecture which will utilize the fact that the cars are silent, and also that we can we have much more space, as a lot of elements are relocating outside of the cabin, like I said, the heating system. So then we have much more space to place the loudspeakers and the sound system in the bed. So we approach every single sense in order to design not only a great looking car, but a car that will, make you feel at ease, comfortable in the car.
Yeah, and of course then there's also the subscription service and concierge.
And the fact that, yeah, exactly, that we don't expect the customer to come to us. Again, in the typical Korean tradition, when you go to do shopping in Korea, I was surprised that you don't take the bags, but they get delivered, and by the time you get home, they're already waiting for you. And this is something that we're not used here. And again, it serves the same thing. We don't expect the customer to have to move itself to get his car serviced or repaired.
So I was going to ask you about athletic elegance, and you did kind of touch upon that. It's audacious, distinctly Korean, and innovative. But how specifically do these keywords manifest themselves in the design of these vehicles? And you did talk a little bit about the lights and the graphic treatment of the vehicles. But how can you maybe give us a little bit more detail, both aesthetically and metaphorically, how these design elements and that athletic elegance manifest?
Yes. I hope I'm not going to be too long. Basically, when we were looking for attributes that would qualify the design, we thought about athletic elegance, because obviously we want the cars to be sporty, to be dynamic, but we want them all of them to be extremely elegant. And as we have on one side of the scala, we have athleticism, and on the other one we have elegance. It's almost two elements that are almost contradictory, a bit almost Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and the right combination is the one that actually brings attention into the product. So as you go down the line with, like the GV60, the GV70, the G70, and you go all the way to G80, GV80, G90, obviously you go from cars that are much more extroverted, much more, let's say, dynamic, sexier, and then as we go up, they get more status, they get more presence, they get more elegance rather than pure sportiness. And again, we mentioned also this is one of the reasons why, as I touched before, we're not about wedge. We're about anti-wedge, and this is part of the element. I don't know if I answered it well. I'm trying not to go too long.
No, you did. You filled in the holes, but I also want to get into the interior design of the vehicles, because I mean, most of design sells from an initial attraction, but interiors are gaining in importance quite rapidly, even more so in recent years, and as is certain material usage, technology. But the interiors of Genesis products, I mean, particularly in terms of feel, of luxury amenities, of detail, of the quality of every aspect of the interior is something that is really quite novel in my and I really wanted to discuss that with you. I mean, the interior of Genesis vehicles, what are some of the standout elements, would you say?
Good that you brought me on track. As an exterior designer, I was going to get you in the back. Basically, we started by trying to get a sense of comfort and not being dominated by the car. Same aspect than for the exterior. So the beauty of emptiness was beauty of emptiness, beauty of white space. Same two wordings for the same concept. What we did is we were trying to make sure that the interior, which is also always a conjunction from sculpture and functions, it does not get overloaded with buttons. We didn't want an orgy of buttons. We didn't want a self-service buffet. We wanted rather the butler experience. And this is also, again, hinting back at the experience in Korea. In Korea, you go to a restaurant, and most of the time, you are in séparés. You are not eating in a main room, but you are eating in separate rooms. And in some cultures, that would be a disaster because you would never see the waiter. That's it. You would get forgotten. And in Korea, it doesn't happen because you have one button, and the waiter comes immediately. And this is something you never see anywhere else. It might come, but the same thing we applied on the interiors. You have the butler at disposal when you need him, so that you have an interior which is cleaned up from all the main elements. You will find the two lines as well. Also a point, you create a great architecture, a fantastic room, and then suddenly you really like it, you like the materials, you like it, and somebody comes and says, and this is there comes a radiator, and that's it, the room is done. And what we said, we will not have the radiators. So we integrated the radiators into the layering of the concept. So when you will go upstairs and look at the GV80 and GV70 that we have, plus G80 that we have upstairs, you will notice that the ventilation system again is integrating in the structure of the. It's a bit like when you have the heating, coming through the slots in the walls and everything. So again, the same thing, integrating the functions into the sculpture rather than creating a great sculpture, really liking it, and then knowing that it's never going to happen like this. The customer will never see like this. So that was the main important thing. It's just making sure that we integrate all those elements from the very beginning in the concept, rather than having fun, creating something sexy, and then after knowing it's going to be destroyed. So that's part of it, and again, the decluttering of the whole interior, the fact that we have elements like on the two lines present that on the GV70 go all over the instrument cluster. All those elements are important, but the most important thing, the feeling of space, the beauty of white space. You will sit there and you will not be dominated by instruments. It's especially now we are entering a phase where customers are not ready to be slaves of the machines anymore. We are used to that. The younger generations don't want that. And this is where we have to start shifting to another era and understanding that it's not about the car to define the lives of the customer, but the customer has to feel pleased by